This is the raw, real, uncut story of the aftermath of Hurricane Helene, which hit North Carolina earlier this year. This is coming directly from the people who had to survive the storm, or those that are there volunteering and helping clean up the aftermath. These interviews are from a little town called Pensacola, where there was a camp of volunteers set up. These interviews are from 1 to 2 months after the storm had happened. This is the boots on the ground perspective of those that are there living it. We all have a different perspective, and we all saw different things. If you want my perspective, you can go back to video number 186 on this YouTube channel. As far as these interviews go, I wanted to tell the whole in-depth story. These interviews are one of the hardest things that I've ever had to do. I've really struggled hard with posting these videos, but the world needs to know what's really happening out there and what these poor people have had to go through. This isn't about politics or views or anything like that. This is simply about telling the story firsthand and in depth. All I'm trying to do is figure out the best way to help these people by any means possible. I ask everyone to please stay positive and to not post negative comments about these brave people who are telling their stories. Seeing all the destruction was one of the hardest things I've ever had to witness. But at the same time, watching everyone come from all over the country with different backgrounds and different beliefs and all working together to help their fellow human was one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. I'm starting to realize these same problems are being encountered in every natural disaster. Please, let's work together to try and find solutions that will help these people. Thanks, everyone. This next interview is with the well guy. And this guy is just the most important guy that I could ever imagine us having out there, because water is our most important need on this planet, and boy was he needed out there. I unfortunately couldn't remember his name. We talked a couple times, but I always saw him out working. Just everywhere I went, he would be out at somebody's house just going nonstop. This man was a hero in the community. He really gave up a lot to be able to be out there, and I can't thank him enough for everything he did. He really did a lot, and he was so important and such a valued necessity out there. I really appreciate him taking the time to talk to me. I highly suggest watching this interview all the way through, because at the end of the interview, he kind of tells a little story that is just one of the most beautiful stories I've heard in my life. And it's just really an awesome, amazing thing to some of the stuff that we witnessed out there, and I'm really glad he shared the story with me, and I'm glad I could share it with you guys. Thanks for watching, everyone. I know you're from Florida, right?
Yep, I'm up here from Florida, up here trying to get people water, fixing wells.
Yes, sir.
I've got a lot of folks water. That's why thankfully our water tin over there is still packed full of water, because I've been getting everybody's wells up and going and hadn't had the need to drink a bottled water. So
I know you're a hard-working man, and I've seen you go nonstop since you've been here, and you are the hero of this community, man. You are bringing wells and bringing water, and that is essential to life.
I go behind these hurricanes all the time in Florida, because you can live without a lot of things, but water's not one of them.
Right.
You can do without electricity, you can do without the gas in that truck, but you can't do long without that water.
Yes, sir.
And it's the lifeblood that keeps everything else going.
Yes, sir. I know you're missing some, I talked to you a little bit earlier, and you got some hunting property in Missouri, and you're missing deer season right now. And that is a hard thing to do, especially when you put as much as you did into what you got going on, man.
And that is, but I can't bring myself away from here. I got here a month ago and can't even tend to go home, but let's go somewhere else and go deer hunting.
Yeah, I can't tell you how much I appreciate all you're doing, man. You are an amazing man, and you're doing amazing work out here. What's the most, what do you think of everything going on out here? What do you think?
I mean, this camp right here, it's made a difference. It may only be a little part of the state, but it's made a big difference in this community here.
Yes, sir.
It's amazing what good people still around can do.
Yeah. It's like, the way I say it is that we're all puzzle pieces, man, and we all just try and just fit our piece for the day, man. And I kind of roam and do it all, but I know you've been doing the essential stuff and the hard work. How many wells do you think you've got going since you've been out here?
At least a couple dozen, and
wow.
Now I'm working on some spring boxes that I'm not accustomed to back in Florida too much, but
right.
It's still getting water into a house, so it's just a little bit of a learning curve on it, but we getting several of them up and going too that got damaged in the storm.
The spring boxes?
Yes, sir.
I've never seen anything like that. I don't know.
The water comes out the side of that mountain right there. They got a box built for a reservoir and got a pump thrown over in it, and it's pumping water straight into their house. It's probably better water. I know it's a lot better water than you get out of a city water system, but it's probably better water than what's coming out of the drilled wells around here.
Like an artesian well style?
That's exactly.
And they just put it in
a natural spring coming right out of the earth side of the ground right there.
Wow.
Capture the water before anything can contaminate it out here, and
So they're
water.
drinking it. They don't have to boil it or do none of that.
No filter system, no nothing on it.
Wow, that is neat.
Most of them, you'll see a lot of them up in the mountains. They'll have big cement boxes built up there. But we went to one yesterday. It's been there for 100 years. It's up underneath a big giant boulder, and they rocked in the face of it where nothing could get in there to it, and run them a tube out for the water to run out, just like a pipe coming out the side of the building there.
Oh man, that is awesome.
Yeah.
That is so cool.
But that's where this place started. Why there's so many people in this community right here. It's been here for 100 years because there was water coming outside the mountains people could live off of. That's where it sprung up at right here.
And so that's why
the Indians was here back before white man was ever here because they a good water supply.
I've seen that throughout history. When you study history,
where you go,
yeah,
it starts
we just build on top of other societies, and history goes back way further.
And it all goes back to where you got that water at.
Yeah, even Cahokia in St. Louis, there's a civilization there that was bigger than anywhere in England in 1000 AD, and we just built
a plentiful supply of water there.
Yeah, it's right on the river, and that's why they built the mountains, is to get up off the river. And I could imagine what it was like back then.
It all depends on that water. That's the lifeblood.
It is.
Of everything that goes. The trees don't grow, the animals don't live, the people don't live.
Yep.
Your food don't make it. You ain't got water to produce it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And so since you've been out here, what have you seen? You seen a lot of volunteers, or do you see a lot of government out here?
Nothing but volunteers. I ain't seen no government nowhere. The only government I've seen, when they show up, stuff starts getting slowed down and hindered.
Yeah.
Progress. That's the only government I've seen.
It seems to be the story, man.
It's if it wasn't right now, if it wasn't for the government when the permits and stuff, we'd have a lot more people out of these tents living back in their houses right now already.
So they're slowing stuff down.
We got sawmills cutting lumber. We got, they won't let them get electricity hooked back up until they got an inspection done on them, and we're not going to build nothing that I ain't going to live in. Why ain't going to let nobody else live in it neither? But that's holding. They're holding up more than they're doing good by a long way.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. I mean, if you got somebody that has nowhere else to go or something that may not pass permit, I'd let them get where they need to be.
I'm from Florida, and after a hurricane, we have to deal with sweating a little bit because the air conditioners don't run. But It's a lot different when it's fit to be in the teens up here, and they still people living in tents.
Yeah.
It put a snow last week. I mean, you want your mama living in a tent?
No, absolutely not. I think that's going to be my next process, and thing I want to try and pick up is I want to try and help get campers out here and just figure out a way to help these people out, man. So,
well, in the county I live in, there's 200 FEMA trailers sitting beside the I-10 waiting to be dispatched somewhere, but they ain't moved since I ain't seen not a one in North Carolina.
Yeah. So they got them all down in Florida, and it's prolific out there.
Sitting there on a lot, ready to go.
But they're not here at all. I don't get it, man. I don't understand. So it's just a different world. I mean, you're from Florida, so you see this, and you do the storms.
I mean, every year I go to probably twice a year, I'd say.
Really?
Something like this.
Oh,
but
man.
It's nothing like this in Florida, because I mean, hurricane. What was it? The one that come through after Helene hit here. It was Milton hit down in St. Pete. Florida had 4.3 million without power. It took them about 4 days to get them all back up.
Wow.
We had trucks sitting there waiting, 100 miles away from where it hit at, and we was ready to go and get it done. We do it every year. But up here, you can't prepare for it taking the earth away.
Yeah.
And that's what it done for 200 miles through North Carolina and Tennessee.
Yeah.
I mean, it changed the whole landscape of the land. I mean, the rock slides coming down the mountains right there where it looks like a dry waterfall from the top of the mountain to the bottom. You can't, if your house is in the middle of that, it's just, you're lucky if you're still standing around. But I've seen many a miracle story since I've been here about people that's made it through what's happened out here.
Yeah, I talked to a gentleman the other day that said 100 yards from his house, he didn't even recognize where he was. After the storm hit, he said he couldn't even tell. It wasn't the same.
Yeah, we don't deal with it. They've been talking to a fella, he said he got so scared listening to the boulders bouncing down the mountain behind his house, he got out and got in his car, him and his wife, and pulled up the mountain across the road, and then the landslide took them all the way back down in their car and wrapped the car around a tree. Broke his back, but they both still alive.
Wow.
He walked out of it, but that's
what are you going to do?
What do you do?
Yeah,
I mean, my house and get crushed by a giant rock, or get in my truck and go up here and ride a landslide down. It turns my car into something unrecognizable.
Yeah, it's terrifying to think about the whole world coming down around you everywhere you're going.
Everywhere you went,
and nowhere to go.
Well, like you could leave, because a lot of the roads were covered up under a river flowing at 40 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Full of rocks and trees and everything else.
Yeah.
And when it can wrap a connex around a tree 40 foot high and split a connex into it, you don't mess with that right there.
Yeah, yeah, you're not getting across that. No. There's nothing you can do.
Nothing you can do. Hope you can get out of it and watch it sit there. I spoke to an 11-year-old boy. He said, me and Mama watched everything we owned get swept up by the river. He said, then it took us. He said, I don't know how far down the river we went. His mama sat behind him, says about a mile and a half, 2 miles before we caught onto a tree.
Oh, man.
I told that little boy, I said, you're destined for something, son. You got a purpose in this life.
That's right. Man. That's hard, man. It's hard. So much of the stories around here, it tugs on the heartstrings, man. It's a lot to take in, man. It's a lot.
And it's every day that you hear something, see something like that.
It is. Every day.
Talk to people that, well, under a storm, I walked out and walked about a half a mile, and I found half of one of my friends. They still ain't found the other half. That's what I got told here about 2 weeks ago. And how do you talk to somebody like that?
Yeah.
You can't imagine. And I've been here in the middle of it for nearly a month and a half, and I still can't wrap my head around some of it.
Right. It's a lot. Well, brother, I don't want to hold you up anymore. I know you're a super busy man, but I appreciate you taking the time to tell your story and just share it with us. I'm trying to let the world know what's going on here, and I always
Somebody needs to, because it ain't known in a lot of places away from here.
Right. Yeah, they just don't know. People might have seen it on TV for a second, and they know there's something here, but they don't understand the scope or the depth.
A little bit of storm damage, but they don't understand that it's a lot more than a little bit of storm damage. Well, you'll be able to come right here in 100 years and see evidence. It'll look just like it does today in 100 years in some places in these mountains right here, I guarantee you.
Yeah, the rivers will still be wide and still be...
You won't compare that right there. I mean, you don't... That landslide right there, when it comes down, and I mean, you can see a little one right there, that ain't nothing compared to what some of them are.
Right.
I mean, when it looks like it's bare rock from the top of the mountain to the bottom of the hill.
Yeah.
Looks like a waterfall dried up. I mean, you don't fix that. That scar's there for another 1,000 years.
Yeah.
It'll be on the side of that mountain.
Yeah.
You know, you'll see it forever.
Yeah. Well, man.
And all the people that's gone, probably, I don't know, I wouldn't be scared to say 8 or 10,000 probably.
Right.
Before it's all over with, if the truth be known.
Yeah.
I mean, the town of Asheville, North Carolina, 150,000 people, at least 4,000 or 5,000 homeless. They're gonna live downtown by the river, under the river bridges. They didn't have no warning. They didn't have no time to know. They got 45-foot water in the 4th floor of the condos in Asheville, North Carolina.
Wow.
You know, telling how they don't know, ever knowing how many people got. One town ordered 4,000 body bags. You don't put them on the shelf.
Right.
You know, they still a couple over 3,000 missing here right now in the few counties right around here.
Wow.
That, you know.
I know at the county meeting they said there were 10 that had passed away and 3 missing, and that's what they said for Yancey County, in this county where we're standing. I went to the county meeting and saw them say that.
That's what the government said.
Yeah.
I've talked to the people out here.
Yeah.
The numbers don't add up.
They don't.
They don't add up. You talk to the population, and then where you go to see the official this, that, and other.
Right.
But, it's one thing about the social media nowadays. You can't cut it all off. They try to keep it in, but it's slowly getting out.
And that's where I'm at, man. And that's where I'm trying to tell the true story out of boots on the ground.
It's a bad thing, the social media. They think they can control it a little bit, but there's too much of it out there, and even their algorithms can't keep it all off. They get it off there, but if you watch TikTok videos, don't filter near as much.
Right.
A lot of the other places, they filter it.
Right.
If you watch it and just add it all up, take all the pieces and judge for yourself.
Right.
Yeah, there's gonna be some both ways. That's stretching it, that's lying, that's
Right.
But take it all, feed it in, eat it, take it all in, and then use your own brain if you got a brain, and see what you come up with.
And that's what I'm trying to do right here, is just hear everybody's boots on the ground story, because this is the epitome of where it's at. They can give us some BS on TV or tell us whatever, but they ain't changing your story, and they ain't changing what you saw or what I've seen or what's happening right here. They ain't changing that.
That's it.
Yep.
And that's where the truth. That's where you find out the real truth at. Because, like I said, the media, the government, everybody, they're gonna put their own spin on it.
Right.
You get out here, boots on the ground, and I mean, what I've seen, it's all good-hearted American people out here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Me too. And it's a silver lining to a very dark cloud, but it does restore a little faith in humanity.
That's definitely what's making the difference out here. Is it ain't got nothing to do with the government money or the local, state, federal, anybody else.
Right.
It's about people helping people.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, man, I can't tell you how much I appreciate all you've done, man. And you're a great man. You're a great man. Thank you very much. After this, we talked for a moment, and he told me one of the most amazing stories I'd ever heard in my life. I knew it was too good to not share with the rest of the world, so I asked him if I could record it and share it with you guys. This is truly an inspiring story, and what the world needs now more than anything. All right, so you told me just a great story, and I gotta share it, man. So tell me about when you first hit town here.
I first pulled into North Carolina. I pulled into Asheville at the O-Team Baptist Church right across from the VA clinic in Asheville, North Carolina, and the lady asked me if she could help me, and I told her no, I was here to see if I could help her. She said, well, what can you do for me? And I said, well, have you got any water issues? And she said, matter of fact, I do. We pull around the back of the other side of the church, and there's a semi-trailer full of portable showers sitting there, and then there's an 8,000-gallon tanker truck for water sitting there side of it. She says, it's been here since this morning, and we can't get nobody to get the water to the showers. I said, let me look at it. So I get over there and look at it, and I got enough stuff in my truck, about 45 minutes, I had the shower going. So I asked her about any kind of phone service so I could call my pump suppliers, and she said, as a matter of fact, we got the internet service. She said, we had 6 Buddhist monks come hook us up internet yesterday. And
wow,
Starlink, and then the next day we were around, and 1,200 Mormons happened to pull up in there hunting places to go to fix roofs and stuff. And she said, you don't see that too often. You got Mormons pulling up at a Baptist church, and Buddhist monks had just been here the day before. I said, well, you can throw Methodists in there, because I got 2 or 3 Methodist churches back home behind me.
Oh, so, man,
that just shows you what a situation like this bring together that you don't see happening every day normally nowadays. But it puts your faith back in this country and in the good Lord above to make things happen when you need to. And it's a beautiful thing, just seeing people from all walks of life come together and just put aside everything and just work together. Forget about all your differences.
Yeah.
When it comes down to it, it's time to do it. Don't matter what letters in front of your name when you go vote or anything else.
Man, that's the most beautiful thing. I love it so much, man. Thank you for sharing all this, man. That's just it's so beautiful, and that's just.
I tell folks back home, I said I've probably had my neck hugged more times in the last month up here than I have in 20 years, and it ain't no just putting her arm around you and saying thank you. It's, look, you got to give me some air. It was like, oh, thank you. You know what I mean? That's what makes every bit of it worth it up here.
Yes, sir.
Seeing that, because I mean, we may not be helping that much in our eyes, but in the middle, in the mindset of this community right here, we're making a big difference.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, man, I appreciate you sharing that story. You shared it with me, and I knew the rest of the world needed to hear it, man. I personally am non-religious, so you can throw me into the mix there as well. I think this is one of the most beautiful stories that I've ever heard. I really appreciate him for sharing it, and I really appreciate everybody coming out and doing what they did. And I think the world just needs a lot more of this right now. I really wish we could just stop all the division and all the fighting and just try and come together and get along. You know, it sucks that this was such a terrible disaster, but seeing moments like this are just the most beautiful moments in humanity. And I wish that we could do it normally without it being under circumstances like this. It breaks my heart to see the world constantly fighting, and I wish it didn't have to be this way. But it's moments like these that give you hope and show you there is a different way, and that we can all work together and get along and work for the same goal. And we may not believe the same thing, but we can still put our differences aside and work together to try and help each other and help humanity. And I think that's what the world needs now more than anything. I really appreciate you guys listening to this man's amazing story. Feel free to like and subscribe and follow along on my journeys. Thanks, everyone.